Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. हमारे साथ हैं. Today we have Mr. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, and today he is appearing not as Pagali ka Ghosh. Firstly,
Pagli ka
Namaskar.
behosh.
Behosh. I'm sorry, I might attract a lawsuit now.
Yeah.
So, Abhijit साहब, नमस्कार. Thank you so much for coming in. आप मुझे ये बताओ, what's happening here now? Election. A lot of people have spoken. A lot of people have done this. A lot of people have done that. Tell me, what's your analysis? What happened? Where did the BJP screw up? And of course, the main question I want to ask you: screw up तो हो गया है. Are the RSS and the BJP back?
The RSS is definitely back. Look, I don't think we'll know what exactly went wrong till about another 2-3 years, when more and more facts emerge. But I can tell you that literally every single explanation you're hearing out there is wrong. And I'll tell you why. The first thing you're told is that, Yogi gave a list of 35 people to the central leadership and that was rejected. That's completely false. I know for a fact that's false. It never happened.
Wow.
Second, there are heaps of explanations being given. Okay. One is the Dalit revolt. Okay. Well, then how come Dalit revolt didn't happen in Madhya Pradesh and Bihar? There's the Thakur boycott. So how come the Thakur boycott only affects some seats in UP and not other seats in UP? Okay. Then it's that the social media game was bad. Amit Malviya is bad. Dhruv Rathi is great. Well, I think Madhya Pradesh walas and Bihar walas speak just as good Hindi as UP walas. So how is it that UP walas got influenced by Dhruv Rathi and Amit Malviya had a weird attraction for people from Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Bihar? Okay, so none of the explanations we're hearing. Constitution change. Ki constitution change hoga, and this is what turned people again. Why did some states? So Odisha clearly it didn't matter to them. Madhya Pradesh, Bihar clearly it didn't matter to them. Gujarat clearly it didn't matter to them. How is that? So none of these explanations stand the test of consistency. I only have a hypothesis right now. I don't think it's a fact or anything like that. Is that first, there was no national issue in this election. Okay, when you do not have a national issue in this election, then it becomes an agglomeration of state elections. And when it becomes an agglomeration of state elections, then different calculations have to be done at that point. How is it that West Bengal, that in the last election had almost 20 BJP seats, gave them only 10 this time? Okay, how does UP, which gave them 70 odd seats last time, give them only 60 odd seats, only give them 30 odd seats this time? तो कुछ इसमें है जहां स्टेट लेवल पे there was anger out there. Okay, this fundamentally was an agglomeration of state elections. Now, how do you test this theory? You have Haryana elections coming up and you have Maharashtra elections coming up, I think in about 3 months' time. We'll see it out there. If the state election results match up to the national election results, you will know then that it was an agglomeration of state elections and there was no national issue. Now, there could have been a national issue, which would have been the Ram Mandir. The problem is the BJP never used the Ram Mandir.
They did.
Okay. So, you could have had the RSS come out and campaign for you, which would not be campaigning for Modi. They only ask for votes in the name of the nation, not in the name of any individual.
Always.
वो भी नहीं हुआ. Then, remember, one RSS worker is worth their weight in gold. One RSS worker is equal to 20-30 BJP workers, because that RSS worker is much, much more dedicated, much, much more loyal, much less prone to peeving, and they'll do their duty. Okay, unlike all the stuff you've seen in the BJP. So I think this is my hypothesis. Is there any way of testing it? The agglomeration of state elections will come in 3 months' time, जब शायद हम महाराष्ट्र और हरियाणा बहुत बुरी तरह से हारने वाले हैं. But the rest, and I think Modi knew this at some level, because he retired Manohar Lal Khattar for that precise reason, so that Manohar Lal Khattar does not become unemployable. If he loses the election, the loss can be pinned on somebody else. Right? Now, in Rajasthan again, okay, you can say there was a Dalit revolt, etc., etc. So how does it not affect other states? There are lots of other states with Dalits where the vote percentage did not get affected at all. The next thing we need to look at is how did the Dalit vote transfer to the SP?
That is surprising. Of all the people,
Because, yeah, because I never thought that transference would happen. See, they would vote for the Congress out of pique, but not for the SP, because a Dalit, a non-Jatav Dalit voting for the SP is like a Jew voting for the Nazi party.
I
It is
know.
the most in your face oppression because they are directly in the hierarchy, one above the other in the hierarchy. You see?
Yep.
So the oppression affects them directly.
Hmm.
So that being the case, how is it that in 2017 that vote, when the Congress and in the assembly election, the Congress and Sapa fought together, that transference did not happen, but this time the transference happened. And why does it happen? If it's easier if you look at it in state pairs, right? Say UP, Bihar.
Hmm.
How does it happen in UP but not in Bihar? Because those social structures there are very, very similar. How does Bengal go one way but Odisha turns completely the other way?
Opposite. Hmm.
Well, because Odisha had Pandian in there. Okay. For better or worse, clearly the people of Odisha did not want him.
Hmm.
Even though you'd see that most of Naveen Babu's schemes were actually implemented, conceived, and implemented by Pandian, uh, I think there should have been a recognition at least of some of the good work he's done. There wasn't. In Bengal, how do you explain that after everything that's happened with all the violence and things like that in Bengal, how do they go back and vote for Mamta Banerjee? Clearly, something else is at play out here. Uh, Gujarat and Maharashtra. How does Gujarat go one way? Though it was a reverse because that one seat was won by this lady, incidentally, a completely casteist lady who believes in caste segregation in temples and things like that, who incidentally is in the Congress. And let's not forget the other chap who believes this is the Puri Shankaracharya, who also supports the Congress.
Yeah.
Okay, the Karpat rights, so to say.
Hmm.
So I really, this will take about 2-3 years to unravel. I only hope the BJP has unraveled it already because uh, they'd know a lot more than what uh, uh, was actually happening, than what was known to us. But I can tell
That's,
you they were not listening to RSS workers. Some of my
hmm.
friends in the RSS were saying, शायद इस बार हमारी ओर नहीं आने वाला है. I was like, यार क्या बकवास कर रहा है? After Ram Mandir, how can you believe that? Clearly, I was wrong. They were right. My research assistant told me, भैया इस बार भाजपा को 30 सीट मिलना मुश्किल होगा. कैसे भाई? ठाकुर बहुत गुस्से में है. He never looked at the Dalit angle. He just said ठाकुर में गुस्से में
वो
है.
तो just BK Singh. Hmm.
And that's what 9% of the vote, or 9 to 10% of the vote. And I was like, यार कैसे बात कर रहा है? उनका alternative क्या है? वो और किसके लिए वोट करेंगे?
That I think is a problem. Alternative क्या है? Very important point I think you said.
But I think in the case, so that is why I see that Thakurs didn't transfer their votes, they boycotted.
Boycotted it.
Right? So जब alternative नहीं था उन्होंने boycott कर दिया. And what has ended up happening is, I am told, I was told that it was the Rajputs that boycotted. Rajputs in Rajasthan are called Thakurs it's the same
Thakur's.
caste in
Hmm.
this thing. And they basically did not boycott in Rajasthan at all. Apparently, in the phases where the Rajputs were in the majority, the BJP won.
Yep.
Right, in
The
spite of the
Thakur
fact,
vote has gone down, as you said, by 9%. That's it.
yeah,
Not much.
in spite of the fact that they put a chief minister who's not a Rajput in Rajasthan, and it was the Meenas and other castes out there in Rajasthan that voted against the BJP. Right. So ये सब देखना पड़ेगा कि boss, why? I am not getting the answer to why except local reasons. For example, I think I have triangulated what happened in UP. Now, the RSS guys will not bitch about, uh, uh, they're very disciplined. They will never bitch about the BJP. They'll never bitch about Yogi or things like that. But my sense of what happened is that, when the Yadavs are in power, the Yadavs control everything.
Everything.
Sub plum police posts go to them, sub bureaucratic plum posts go to them. Most of the MLAs and MPs, even if they're non-Yadavs, they can't really cross the Yadavs in their region because Akhilesh ya Mulayam ka protection hota hai, kind of thing. Number one. Second is that they democratize rule. Democratize it in the sense that all the MPs and MLAs have a say and they can do a lot in their own constituencies. Now, somewhere between the centralization of Modi and the centralization of Yogi, none of the MPs or MLAs had any power to do anything on the ground unless it got cleared here or there. So even with the illusion of Thakurs being in power, the Thakurs aren't in power. And this is the way my RA explained it to me in terms of the Thakurs.
Interesting.
But there is another thing to be said here, that Amit Shah also then did not see this coming and chose wrong candidates. Faizabad, which is the Ayodhya constituency, usme aapne, it is a Parsi dominated constituency, you didn't put a Parsi. So the slogan there was, is bar na Mathura na Kashi, ab ki bar Parsi. And see, they look at these seats as community seats. ये community का property है, joint property है, joint ठाकुर family property है या joint Parsi family property है. And if you're too doctrinaire about Hindutva and you think you have overcome caste, clearly you have not gauged that sentiment right. The last thing I want to point out is how many seats, almost 100 seats, if I'm not mistaken. I forget the number, somewhere between 60 to 100 seats, if I'm not mistaken, were lost by the narrowest of margins possible.
Yeah. Under 5,000, 7,000. Some of them
Something
are
like
1,400 and all that stuff.
Yeah. They were insane. So that being the case, it was truly, it was a damn close thing. And those tactical mistakes here and there cost the BJP dear. That said, I also want to put this into perspective. The highest number of votes the Congress has ever got has been in 1984, where it got 120 million votes. This is the first time that it has got more than 120 million votes, and it got 137 million votes or something like that. And that was a 1.5% or 1.7% jump in its vote share over the previous time. Okay, which was about 119 million or something like 119 million, something like that. Okay. Now, the BJP's voters actually increased from 229 million to 236 million. So that was a jump of 7 million people. So the only thing technically standing between 300 and 240, if you add up the loss figures, was 6 lakh votes.
Fuck.
6 lakh votes.
That is a number that one needs to think about. I was told, and I was talking to some guys in Maharashtra, and the narrative there is, यार इस बारी वैसे ही जीत रहा है वो, आप इस बारी वोट मत करो. इस बारी, what they've done, the money payment previously used
that
to
is where, but see, I would say that this is where the 400 par played its role.
Yeah, it got flipped.
But not really. Because if 400 par played a role, why did the other states that voted BJP vote so overwhelmingly BJP?
I guess the groundwork was not done properly in these areas, and the groundwork was done in the other states.
Yeah, it can't be कि पूरा state में groundwork ठीक से नहीं हुआ है, especially when it's being controlled from the center, right? that one side of the cadre was more dedicated than the other side of the cadre. I'm not buying that completely. But like I said, it took us almost 10, 12 years to figure out what had gone wrong. Not 10, 12 years. It took us 6, 7 years to figure out what had gone wrong in the 2004 election.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
It had
true.
nothing to do with India shining. It had to
Mhm.
do with the fact that the RSS had not come out and campaigned, number one.
Nothing, nothing.
Even that election was lost by the narrowest of margins. But what's very interesting about that election is that the RSS actually won.
Okay, 1 second. We shall have him back. Just give us a second, guys. I think his network has got lost. No worries. We shall have him back in a minute. By the time, guys, please like the video here. Let's. This is an interesting discussion, and we
Oh,
normally don't.
is it?
हाँ,
हाँ,
no
हाँ,
problem.
okay.
No
अब
worries,
पता
no
नहीं
worries.
किसका मेरा इंटरनेट चला गया होगा। हाँ,
Yeah,
ठीक।
कोई बात
तो मैं क्या बोल रहा था?
नहीं.
हाँ। So,
RSS 4.
so 1999, if you look at the vote share, BJP had 80 odd million votes, Congress had 100 odd million votes. Congress had 25% more votes total than BJP did, and still BJP won. Now, what has happened is in 1999, voter turnout kam hua. BJP actually had a slightly less. They lost about 1.5% voters. Congress lost 1.7% voters. And in spite of that, the Congress won
Yeah.
because of the first past the post system. Now, let's come to the exit polls. Did you notice all the exit polls, more or less, got their percentages right?
Vote shares were accurate. Yep,
The vote share
absolutely.
was accurate.
Mhm.
But the individual seat application went horribly wrong,
Yep, true.
right?
Mhm.
So इसमें बैठ के देखना पड़ेगा कि I don't think we will still understand 2004. I think we have a fairly good understanding of what happened. India shining nahi tha. It was the RSS, because the RSS was very upset with the way that government was being run, with disloyal elements being brought in and things like that. One of them, being Sudhindra Kulkarni and what he does now, for
Yeah.
example. And इस बार it is not similar. We should remember this. Like Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes.
True.
This is not a 2014 election. It's really more of a 2004 election. It's actually more of a 1999 election, because the BJP still won. And in spite of getting the highest ever vote share, voter numbers that the Congress got, it still got its third lowest seat share, 99 seats. अब एक हारा जाएगा and it'll be re-won, which is Wayanad.
Hmm.
But it'll still remain at 99.
Hmm.
So imagine Rahul Gandhi actually delivered more voters for the Congress than his father did. But because the country's grown so much, he only got 99 seats.
99 seats.
Hmm. The worry now is, if you extrapolate this, what happens in state elections? The good news is Karnataka will come back to us. Okay. Rajasthan will come back to us. Uh,
Maharashtra, I am thinking it will come back because I don't know. They're going to shut
if they
Ajit
course
Pawar.
correct, if they
Hmm.
course correct now, it will. If they do not have access to the data that we hope they do, it will
Hmm.
not.
Yeah, you're right.
Haryana, again, entirely Khattar's fault, but Khattar, is very dear friends with Modi, so he's been removed from the accountability, and it's been foisted on a guy who could do nothing, who was put there at the last minute so that to take the fall. West Bengal, I really don't know how to gauge that, because I would say that it means we won't win the next state election, but we
Unless
may
you remove
certainly, but
Mamta.
we will increase our vote share in the next election.
Unless you remove Mamta. You remove Mamta, 356, you will win it.
if you do. But
Hmm.
see, the threshold for that is very, very high. And this is a government that's never used Article 365. Otherwise, is it 365 to dismiss the state
56.
government? 356, sorry. Uh, देखते हैं क्या होता है. But that
But
is
there,
my
one thing is there. Sorry to interject. In Bengal, do you think they're escalating it properly this time? Because last time it was complete inaction. This time, at least, you see the faces on the ground. You see counter actions. You see cases being filed. You see the governor being approached. You see all that stuff happening, which is basically a, you got to step by step escalate. You're in the business of war, so you kind of
so
escalate by the step.
Adi, my thing is very simple. There's an old dictum of war. He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day.
Yeah, true.
So you either take them prisoner or you kill them.
Kill them. Mm.
I'm talking entirely in military terms.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
here, what is the definition of take no prisoners? That you don't do this मैं 356 कभी इस्तेमाल नहीं करूंगा nonsense. And you start playing the games that the Congress used to. Because remember, Narasimha Rao made the mistake of not going after Rahul and Sonia, and he paid a very heavy price for it. You remember his body was left to rot outside the Congress party headquarters.
yeah.
This one, Vajpayee, also did not go after Sonia and Rahul, despite their many obvious crimes. And
Even
what
this
happened?
these guys.
Now, if you allow things to function as they are and believe that the people will have a change of heart, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. That said, I'm happy. You know why? Because I'm very glad that this happened now, with at best what can be termed a reversal, rather than in 2029, which would have been a drought had we not paid attention to this.
You
तो
would have
ये
been in the
सारे
list
टाइम
of
पे
just going up.
ये हमारे को वैक्सीन लगा है एक किस्म से, जहां बॉडी अब एंटीबॉडीज पैदा कर सकती है.
Yep.
So that is my take on what happened in the election, succinctly.
Awesome. I think this, especially the last point, I've been saying this since the 5th of June. Thank God it happened now.
Yeah.
2029, you would have been a precipice of becoming a big power in the world. Just there. Yeah, breakout. Now people can call you a large regional power, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You have crossed 5-6 trillion, you would have been just there, the must. And by that time, this 5-6, you would have come back to 3.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't have preferred that. I absolutely agree with you. But I want to ask you one simple thing. There is a demand that the BJP is not, and Modi is being very soft on people right now, even now. There are 2-3 aspects of it. One is the online hate which is happening. I mean, there is hate means it's I've never seen the online world like this. It's crazy. You to gain the mood, and to check my own kind of feed, which I don't follow all this nonsense, but it's just there. It's getting sped up. It's getting pushed up. YouTube, no, not much action. Uh, Second most important thing is with regards to hitting back. For example, this whole narrative that came out of the EVM. Shahzad came out, did a brilliant job. He challenged 20 lakhs, this, that, good narrative. Do you think they've learned their lessons as far as the narratives are concerned? That's point one. Second is, are these daily narratives actually that important?
See, they are important. Because when you have such a close run thing like this, every narrative, every vote counts. Okay. I think we did fail in the narrative, but we failed in the narrative because there is no there was no national issue. तो क्या narrative चलाओगे बताओ मेरे को. Ayodhya, I completely respect what Modi did. I admire what Modi did, that he didn't politicize it, because it is a sacred civilizational event. It is not a party thing.
Yeah.
That said, let us be clear. We would not have that temple were it not for Modi.
True.
Okay.
No.
So how do you do it? See, technically, if you look at it, Modi did the right thing.
Is
But
that the problem?
But that's a bit, for me, it's a bit like Prithviraj Chauhan's valor, letting Ghori go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that the right thing? Is it
Is it
time
right?
that you
I
get to
don't
real
know.
politics?
No, I don't know. I just hope that in the second battle of Tarain, uh, you know, we learn our lessons, because Prithviraj Chauhan did not learn his
Did
lessons.
not.
Hmm? The Turks learned their lesson very, very well. Because if you look at how Tarain 1 got carried out and Tarain 2 got carried out, they came so well prepared the second time. They knew exactly what to do, where, and when. And they made a beeline for Prithviraj Chauhan, and somewhere halfway in the middle of the battle, he was caught and executed, beheaded on the battlefield.
Yep.
Hmm. Uh, don't believe all this story of Kya Prithviraja Raso, where he was taken to Afghanistan and blinded and then made to do shoot arrows and all that. That never happened, obviously. We know for a fact he was killed on the battlefield. We also know that Gori came and made his son ruler for a while and things like that,
And then killed
uh,
him after that.
and then killed him after that. Uh, so it's just one of those things where you see historical patterns, hoping it will not repeat
Yeah, true. I
or
want to
rhyme.
ask you. Yeah, I want to ask you about the arrogance of the other side. 99 power and this and that. But do you think these guys are pulling it too much? Because,
पर इनको हार कर भी इनको कितना अहंकार है. हमारा जीत ऐसा जीत है जो जो
तो दो से
तरह महसूस हो रहा है, और उनका डिफीट ऐसा डिफीट है कि उनको विक्ट्री
सांस
की
कर रहे
तरह.
हो. I know. But do you think they're getting more
But
arrogant than they've
this
been
is
about?
like the student who gets 10 out of 100,
Hmm.
who suddenly he gets, that was actually me in maths class, by the way. 10 out of 100 in the first term, 9 out of 100 in the second, 11 out of 100 in the third, and then in the board exam I got what, 47. 45 was the pass mark. Man, this is so good. ये कोई पास होना हुआ? Hmm. Actually, I didn't get 47. I actually got 70 something, 72, 73.
Yeah, I mean, in 10th, I was like that.
But just for the sake of story, let's say I got 47.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the 10th, I literally just studied as much as I needed to pass. I hated maths.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, so that was so that was kind of what ended up happening, right?
mm,
Um, now, where do you देखते हैं? I think if they are able to reverse Maharashtra and Haryana, we will know that they've set course correction in order.
okay.
If they lose those two, then we know no course correction has happened, and that is when we need to start worrying. Because then 2029 becomes your second battle of Tarain.
Yep.
Hmm?
True. Absolutely correct. You know, the the entire force of the world, 175 anti-Modi articles were written in the month of April and May. 175. So there was the entire ecosystem after him, right?
But I don't think that had an impact, and I'll tell you why.
Did
Again,
it or did it
marginal
not?
impact, maybe. But you tell me, Adi, like anybody who comes and watches this,
Hmm.
okay, I'm a polarizing figure. So I would say 50% of your viewers have decided Abhijit sabse bada mahachutiya hai, and another 50% have decided Abhijit sabse khuda ka farishta hai. I am not changing the khuda ka farishta wala's minds into saying I'm a chutiya, and I'm not changing the chutiya wala's minds into saying khuda ka farishta. They will take back from this conversation exactly what they want to take back. It will only reinforce their belief that Abhijit ya to chutiya hai, ya to khuda ka farishta hai. Okay. Nobody comes on social media to change their mind. They come on social media to seek validation and buttress their existing beliefs, and to find these online clans which they can belong to.
Resonate to. Hmm. Yeah.
So I don't think any of these articles actually had an impact per se.
But they were picked up within this country and kind of created narratives into. Would that be accurate?
Again, See, if let's assume the narratives were created, ठीक है, अब ये देखो दैनिक भास्कर जो है वो कहाँ, इंदौर, वो फैमिली तो इंदौर से है, मध्य प्रदेश से है.
Hmm.
Now, assume for the sake of argument that Dainik Bhaskar ran an anti-Modi campaign narrative. How is it that UP buys it and Madhya Pradesh, their
That's
home
the funny
state,
part.
doesn't?
Yeah. Yep.
So
That's the
I'm.
funny thing.
So here is the thing. I am not convinced. It is not the creation of narratives that resulted in this. It was in
Hmm.
fact a lack of a national narrative by the government, which meant that people would not enthusiastically, they'll be like, यार हम किसके लिए वोट कर रहे हैं?
That's true.
Also, there were no new schemes introduced in this year, in this term. Remember, in the previous term, all the schemes that have come to fruition, you know, toilets, lights, Ayushman Bharat, and your health insurance, they were all implemented last time.
Hmm.
So
Just before
then
20.
they ask, भाई तुमने उस टाइम तो ये सब दे दिया था, अब इस बार क्या देने वाले हो? क्या दिया तुमने हमको पिछले 5 साल में?
Middle class के लिए tax कम नहीं किया. You know, okay, aspiration value.
But
Yeah.
that's it. I don't think the middle class voted for the Congress at all.
Which Modi actually mentioned the aspiration in his speech of for the NDA. So that's something that he picked up right there.
He did, but is he going to do something about it? Because remember, Nirmala also said in her speech, you know, the middle class, the tax-paying classes, we recognize your contribution and very grateful for it. पर यार उसके बाद हमको दिया क्या? कुछ दिया? नहीं. But we still vote for them because we know that the alternative is much much worse. जहां तुम्हारा पैसा छीना जाएगा और ये छीना जाएगा. Now, Mangalsutra comment. Did it lose us the election? No. यार सब मंगलसूत्र पहनते हैं हिंदुस्तान में. How does it affect some people but not affect some other people? क्या बकवास है? Is a Mangalsutra valued less in Gujarat or Bihar or Madhya Pradesh than it is in UP or UP or Rajasthan or Maharashtra? नहीं ना. So there is not one reason that is being floated out that stands the test of consistency, which is why I say this was an agglomeration of state elections. This was not a national election.
That was a very good point. I must say, compliments on that. A very, very good point. Because I've heard a lot, and I want to now come down to the RSS. There was articles written about it. Shadarji has written a very interesting article. I don't know much about all this stuff, so I don't like to comment on anybody or anybody this and that, because I am not very, I have not dwelled into the RSS that much, and that's something I want to explore into. So I actually wrote to him and said, "Sir, Aajo, zara aapse bhi baat kar lete hain, bari. What do you have to say?" I think he's running a little bit busy. I got in touch with Rajiv Tuliji also, because I want to try and understand that this mysterious organization. I want to figure it out. What do you think is the game within the RSS where Mohan Bhagwat ji came out and spoke? When I did my little research, I came to know that Mohan Bhagwat ji does come out and speak every 2 years, and he gives his diktats. This, and he does this after every election.
The thing about the RSS is, you know, the RSS are some of the kindliest uncles you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
वो कभी भी तुमने जितनी भी शैतानी की हो वो तुमको थप्पड़ मारने वाले नहीं, वो वाले टाइप्स नहीं है. वो प्यार से बिठा के समझाने वाले हैं, बिकॉज ऑल दैट ट्रेनिंग इज संयम रखो, संयम बरतो, रिस्ट्रेंट रिस्ट्रेंट रिस्ट्रेंट, सत्यम वद मिष्ठम वद. सो जब वो बहुत प्यार से बोलते हैं कि अहंकारी मत बनो, इट इज इंटेंडेड फॉर द गवर्नमेंट. पर जब वो बोलते हैं हमारे बारे में झूठ फैलाया, इट इज मेंट फॉर द ऑपोजिशन.
Yeah, see, that part was not spread out. I watched his speech. This, what you said, was not put out into those clips.
Yeah, it was not put out into those clips. But if you read the text of the speech,
I saw his full speech.
yeah, so he did say it. So there was a slap here and there was a slap there as well. Right? It's not a mysterious organization at all. I think the thing is people don't take the effort to go there, talk to them, find out about them, etc., etc. They're the nicest people you'll meet. They're the kindest people you'll meet. They don't judge you. You know, online Hindus have decided that they own Hinduism and they will decide who is a Hindu and who is not a Hindu. पर जो actual Hindu के लिए काम करते हैं पिछले 70-80 साल से, which is the RSS, They have none of this sense of ownership and proprietorship and telling you what to do. You consider yourself a Hindu, congratulations. We also consider yourself a Hindu. They want everybody to think of themselves as Hindu, including Muslims. So you don't consider yourself a Hindu, say Hindutva.
I think the Hindutva narrative needs to be built up a little more and little harder.
But the strange thing is, it was in a sense, it was the core belief in Hindutva that led to the candidate selection. What is Hindutva? It is that your Hindu identity trumps your caste identity. The Hindu no longer thinks of himself as a Brahman or a Yadav or a SC/ST or as a Dalit, as a Jatav, as a Pasi, as a whatever. But they see themselves first and foremost as a Hindu.
Hindu.
The problem in the candidate selection in UP was they actually thought that ki a Pasi will end up voting for a
A
non-Pasi,
Hindu. A
and that did
Hindu.
not happen. The
Hmm.
Hindu. They will vote for the Hindu, they will not vote for the Pasi.
So did they overlook at the consolidation of Hindus?
I think they did. I think that is a
I think that's
fairly, I think.
yeah.
Uh, the issue is, again, how does that not work in UP, but it works in other states?
India is a mysterious country.
It's a very mysterious country. So, because in India, what is said is true, but the diametric opposite of it is also true. If you look at casteism, you have the most horrific examples of casteism over the last 1,000 years. But you also have the most lovely examples of counter casteism over the last 1,000 years. The problem is one side emphasizes just one, and the other side claims that all the things where caste did not matter means that the casteist narrative is wrong and the British foisted it on us.
Interesting. Hmm. Okay.
Both are wrong and both are equally true. This is like the six blind men of Hindustan. Do you know the poem?
No,
Oh my God. Okay, let me do a
I'm not a
poetry.
very history guy. I'm a very history kind of guy. So history, military. World War II की बात करो यार. ये सब poems मेरे को नहीं पता.
No, but see, this is the it's one of the most it actually comes from a Buddhist text called
Okay.
the Titha Sutta, and it is a poem based on that. A
Interesting.
group. One second. This is 1 second. Let me come to the text. One second.
Yeah. Please take your time.
My
By the
brain
time,
is
guys, please hit the like
currently-
button hard.
Okay. It was six men of Hindustan to learning much inclined, who went to see the elephant, though all of them were blind, that each by observation might satisfy his mind. The first approached the elephant and happening to fall against his broad and sturdy side, at once began to bawl. God bless me, but the elephant is very like a wall. The second, feeling of the tusk, cried, Ho, what have we here? So very round and smooth and sharp. To me it is mighty clear that the wonder of an elephant is very like a spear. The third approached the animal and happening to take the squirming trunk within his hands, thus boldly up and spake, I see, quoth he, the elephant is very like a snake. The fourth reached out his eager hand and felt about the knee. What most this wondrous beast is like is mighty plain, quoth he. 'Tis clear enough the elephant is very like a tree. The fifth, who chanced to touch the ear, said, Even the blindest man can tell what this resembles most, deny the fact who can. The marvel of an elephant is very like a fan. The sixth no sooner had begun about the beast to grope, than seizing on the swinging tail that fell within his scope. I see, quoth he, the elephant is very like a rope. And so these men of Hindustan disputed loud and long, each in his own opinion exceedingly stiff and strong, though each was partly in the right and all were in the wrong.
Fantastic. Yeah. See, you look at everybody has his own perspective to look at things. I think that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that. I think you've hit the nail. But The last thing I want to ask you is now the future. He needs to crack down on the internal security, right? There's no
I
question.
think so. I think he needs to crack down on internal security. I think there's lots of things that need to be done. Uh, 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 but will they happen? I don't
Question.
know.
They've started
Let
up.
me- Why? Godhra was a classic case of a state being under-equipped to deal with a problem. Modi did
Yeah.
nothing wrong. He did the best he could with the troops that he had. He
Mm.
asked for central forces. All those central forces were denied to him because remember, at that time, there was a border confrontation. Operation Parakram was happening with
Yeah.
Pakistan
Yeah.
at the time.
Pakistan.
Right? He did not get those central troops. Now, because of that, I think he especially should be extremely aware of what a lack of internal security can look like. And he's pulled off miracles in Kashmir, sure. But internal security is more than just Kashmir. Okay.
Manipur.
Under his
Balkan.
rule, we've had the least amount of riots, the least number of people getting killed in riots. Till Manipur happened, we still don't know how many people have died in Manipur because that's a complete news blackout.
Yeah.
It'll be in several hundreds, I presume,
People are saying about 300.
possibly. Which is still very low compared to riots that happen because every 10 years India has huge riots in which thousands of people get killed.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, that has not happened, right? तो देखते हैं. I'm cautiously optimistic that lessons have been learned. But look, I mean, somebody might be looking at this conversation we've had and said, तू कौन सा इलेक्शन लड़ा है वे चूतिए, तेरे को सब कुछ पता है? नहीं, हमको बेहतर पता है. And sure, I mean, I don't dispute that. This is just my hypothesis.
I mean, the last thing I'll say before we get into questions is that I think they've started up a little bit. The support to Ajit Bharti was a big thing, which has never happened
Yeah,
from the central BJP. This thing, it's never happened.
yeah,
What they're doing in Bengal has never happened. What they're doing in JNK has never happened. Literally, Pithe Todna, what Yogi's done inside with his bureaucracy has never happened. So, he shunted guys up and down because those are the guys who played the game with him. So
exactly.
he played the game back. So you can see some hints of it, but I don't want to put my money on it at the moment. So that's something which is there.
Like I said, bhai dekh.
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
I did not have that faith in Modi before, but after the Ram Mandir, all my lack of faith has dissipated.
I wanted to ask you this exactly
भाई
as the last.
इसने
How did you change?
अब उसने डिलीवर कर दिया ना. Now how much more are you going to doubt a man? जो प्रॉमिस किया था वो डिलीवर किया.
Yeah.
500 साल का एस्पिरेशन है, it finally came true. So how do you then doubt the man after that?
But you were far left, and you are now today considered to be a
That
right
was
wing.
so, but see, that is what growing up is about.
Yeah.
यार अभी भी 45 years of age में you still think like when you were 4.5 years old?
No.
Growth is also mental growth. As long as I had to depend on my mom and dad for money in the 20s and for top up and things like that, I was very much a leftist. The moment I became financially self-sufficient, I became hard right because I'm like, boss, I'm earning this bloody money. I know the value of every single penny I've earned and how bloody hard I've had to work for it. I'll be damned. You take it and spend it for good, very good. I spend a lot of money of my income on uh, uh, charities. I don't do charity myself, but I donate to orphanages and dog causes and animal
Okay.
rescues and things like that. Okay. I spend a lot of my income doing just that. But uh, that is for me to do. That is not for the state to take away from me and then bill for it 90% of it possibly going off in bribes and inefficiency. So you automatically become right wing when you grow up. One of the reasons the West is in the West, there was a very clear thing that under 30 people were left. And after 30, they would all start turning right. That has now stopped happening because people are so protected and they're so kept in this sort of make believe reality and comfort zone and whatever, and no getting triggered and all of that. The stimulus for turning right is simply not there. So what do you do?
You're one of the only people who's come out and openly said this.
No, I think all of us have said this.
Very
Anand
few.
used to be left. He's also spoken about this, him being
Hmm.
left and then
Very
coming
few.
to
Very
right.
few. That's what I'm saying. One of the few people.
So I'm completely. I mean, it shows you mental evolution, no? It Because learning is a journey through life. You can never say. There's this story that Huan Sang wrote about India, that there was this guy who used to go around Harsha's capital
Hmm.
with a was it the Gupta capital, with pots and pans tied around him. I think Fahin was the Gupta capital and Harsha was the
Hmm.
uh, was Huan Sang.
Vincent.
He had pots and pans all around him, metal plates and breastplates and uh, uh, a pot on his head and things like that. Why? Because he was considered so knowledgeable that he was bursting with so much knowledge that it would burst out of him literally. Boss, even when you are old, you still have so much more to learn.
Mhm.
And I think that entire sort of Occidental upbringing and Marxist indoctrination that my dad tried to do of me, my mom didn't have to try much. She just left me to my thing saying, "नहीं नहीं ये सुधर जाएगा, ये सुधर जाएगा, बच्चा सुधर जाएगा. He's got his own brain, सुधर जाएगा." Because her faith कि मैं सुधर जाऊंगा came from the fact that I used to be a rebellious child. I would not do certain things, but if my mom said don't do it, then I'll go do it. So she was like, अगर शैतान बच्चा है तो ठीक है, खुद वो समझ जाएगा कि लेफ्टिज्म चूतियों का ideology होता है. She is, of course, much harsher about leftism.
Hmm.
I admire how conniving and calculative leftists are.
Yep.
I
Amazing.
admire the way in which they're able to produce jargon and bullshit and saturate any literature on any field and thereby capture it.
And
These are all
united.
things you learn from the left.
And
I am
united. Those people
known
will
for
stand by
having
anything. Yeah.
when I was 7-8 years old, I wasn't just left. I was a hardcore bloody communist. My enemy was in Pakistan. I actually walked into KGB headquarters demanding to join the KGB so that I could defeat American imperialism. They had a good laugh because nobody actually in those days actually walked into Lubyanka wanting to join. They walked into Lubyanka with great fear, not knowing what was going to happen to them in the
Not coming
dungeon.
back.
Yeah. So they see this little foreign kid coming out wanting to fight Russian imperialism and things.
Yeah.
They took me on a tour because they found it hilarious that this little foreign kid wants to do all this shit. I was a hardcore communist, boss. ऐसे वैसे नहीं था. I wasn't even Marxist Leninist. I was Stalinist.
Yeah.
Kill
It's
off
just
all the class traitors, kill off all the bourgeoisie, dictatorship of the proletariat and all that shit. मैं बहुत जल्दी ये सब सीख गया था, पता है? So what ended up happening was, and I remember in 1991 when the USSR fell, I locked myself up in the room and I cried for 3 days flat. My whole worldview had come crashing down. Thankfully, my mom didn't see it. But, the other thing that happened was 2 years before that. That is when, I stopped being doctrinaire leftist. My mom still finds it hilarious because she tells everybody the story when in 89, the Tiananmen Square massacre happened. And what happened was, in Un Dino Mein To Doordarshan Tha, which you didn't really watch. And she was reading out how the Chinese had run tanks over students and shit like that. And I had turned on the other side of the bed and I was quietly crying out there because I was very ashamed to admit that as a communist state could do all of this. And my mom was trying to comfort me. I now know she found it hilarious at that time. She was trying to suppress her laugh, but she was still saying, "Arey beta, mat ro, mat ro, mat ro," aise karke. So I was so dedicated. The first blow to my dedication came with Tiananmen Square. The second came with the collapse of the USSR.
Mm.
It was, मेरा दिल मेरे इधर से निकल गया था.
वर्चस्व बिगड़, क्या वर्चस्व
But,
खराब हो गया.
but I am grateful because I read so much Marx. Do you know,
Right
Marx
wing.
believed that once you reach equality of income and things like that, or at least high income, the state will cease to exist.
Yep.
That
Yep.
people, that it will be an anarchy of sorts,
Hmm.
which is a good thing according to them. It's a very bad thing according to me, because communists believe that you can train human nature out of a system. I do not believe you can. Now that I've grown old, I do not believe that
You can't.
human nature can be changed. And how do we know this? In the USSR,
The Soviet
even we
man.
went to far off places. We went to places like Omsk, Irkutsk, Tobolsk, places like, I went to Petropavlovsk Kamchatsky, which is the
Okay.
farthest end closest to America.
Yeah.
Every place had a conservatory. Every place had a fantastic library where you would get Dostoevsky, Turgenev, all of
Hmm.
it. In every place would have a conservatory, and that conservatory would be equipped with the finest of pianos, and some even had Stradivari. One of the, I think it was the conservatory in Irkutsk or Yakutsk, I forget, which actually had a Stradivarius violin,
Wow.
which even in those days used to cost $1 million. Why? Because they wanted all the bright local kids to come and learn about the ballet, about good violin music, chamber orchestras, and full blown orchestras, and things like that, because they believed that providing the same kind of education to everybody makes for a completely enlightened society. It does not. It only, say, between some very generous estimates, say 7%, but the more realistic estimate is between 1 and 2% of your population can ever be truly enlightened that way. The rest, you know, you can't break nature.
Yep.
And this is something that Yuval Harari talks about in his book, on how the Zaire River, south of the Zaire River, are bonobos, which are look exactly like chimpanzees, except they are not psychopaths. They do not kill. They do not torture. North of the Zaire River, of the Congo River,
Congo.
is the chimpanzee population. They are extremely cruel. They are the only other animals known to take pleasure in torturing, killing, victory cannibalism, genocide, mass extermination. Chimpanzees do that. They are our closest relatives today. Those genes that developed sometime after the after the Congo River split that population. Had we developed bonobos, maybe we would not be like this. But because we are somehow a common relative of the chimpanzee north of the Congo River, we are what we are. We will have psychos. We will always have genocide. We will always have murder. We will always take pleasure in completely wiping out people, in raping, in torture, in killing, in things like that. Curiously, that is also what makes us a successful species. Because if you read Ian Morris's War, What Is It Good For? You know it is all our faults that make us great. It is not what we consider to be great that makes us great.
Yep.
It is actually
Because
the psychopaths of the world that have made us, that have brought us to this thing.
yep. Yep. Yep.
What
It's
do
a
you
weird
do
word. What do you
now?
do?
The problem that I have between the right and the left is sometimes the right doesn't appreciate nuance. I think the
Okay.
core left, that 1 to 2 intellectual percent, appreciate the nuance, but वो इतने लुच्चे तुच्चे रामजादे हैं that they whitewash everything into black and white, and they remove the nuance for the people, and that is the genius of the left. The right's problem is it actually believes its own Kool-Aid. And I'm talking about this globally. In India, the right left doesn't apply because even our
There's
right is
no
quite,
right.
yeah. So anyway, that was my little rant. But
No,
I
no, no.
believe anybody who says that you should not develop as a human being, that your thought processes don't develop, is fundamentally a retard.
I'll tell you what. I appreciate some guy who's gonna tell me I hate you and I'm gonna kill you. I'd sit down and have a drink with him and have a conversation with him.
Mm.
I don't like these closet snakes.
Yeah.
No, I'll sit down with a lefty and have a drink with him if he says, "Listen, yeah, I'm a lefty.
But
You're
many of my
you
friends are
know, you are.
leftists.
That's fine.
I mean,
Perfect.
so many of the leftist journalists who everybody keep hating on are very, very dear friends of mine.
They're sweet guys. You can actually sit down because they're true to their ideology. I like that about somebody. You
Yeah.
may like something which is absolutely terrible, but you're true to your ideology. That's
And
okay.
I admire them in the sense that in private, they will always give you the truth. In public, the line is very different. But I
Most
admire them because those are the guys who haven't drunk their own Kool-Aid. As opposed to the guys who have drunk their own left-wing Kool-Aid, in which case it's pointless to even sit down and have a chat.
chat with them. Correct.
Because it won't change anything, you see?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Chalo, let's get into some questions. There are loads of questions, so we'll just kind of go through them. Fatafat say. But guys, before that, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, I wanted to ask this to Abhijit about his personal this thing because I saw him talking about something, and I personally have a problem with snakes. I just said this very
Mm.
clearly, and I'm seeing a lot tumbling out of the closet right now. Uh, I don't care about your ideology. That's perfectly all right. You're free to have it, but stick with something. Pick a hole and stick with it. Simple as that.
No.
So please like, subscribe, and of course, yes, if you can contribute towards this channel using the QR code, PayPal, or super stickers or super chats. Let's see. First, Balaji ji, thank you so much. He says, before general elections, what are you hearing murmurs about Bharat taking back POK within October? What's your gut feel? Will it happen by July? And he also asked, murmurs on POK were inside the secretariat who leaked it to a few journalists. Some said in December, Jan, it was about to happen, but cancelled, postponed to Modi 3.0.
Nahi yaar. Yaar, do you know how bloody and nasty that thing is going to be? It's going to make
नहीं
Ukraine look like child's play.
नहीं
Uh,
चाहिए साहब.
it's horrible. The deaths and stuff that you'll incur. Do you know, by the way, what kind of a radicalized population lives in POK? Are you willing to ethnically cleanse them? Because I'll tell you one thing very clearly, I am not willing to give one of those bastards Indian citizenship. Not one.
Yep, absolutely.
एक भी आएगा, he will take a knife tomorrow, day after, and plunge it into some near and dear's chest.
Yep. I always say this, यार POK मत मांगो, कैलाश मांगो.
Exactly. And
कैलाश मांगो.
I want you guys to look up Mirpur is that village in Kashmir where people go, the hardest, nastiest Kattarpanthis and thugs and goons in Britain come from Mirpur.
And by the way, they are openly now saying vote for me because an Indian cannot stand for you.
Yeah,
Sonia Kumar.
Sonia Kumar. And it's a white conservative saying that.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? And white conservative, which has Latin genes, by the way.
Exactly.
Irony of the situation. Rahul Lakshman says Punjab is quiet, nothing brewing internal security.
Yeah, it's going to metastasize into a different kind of problem. If you're expecting a Khalistan style problem, the fertility rate can't sustain it. जब वो Khalistan शुरू हुआ था, उधर का fertility rate was insane. It was some 6, 7, something like that. It was 5 plus at any rate, which means that every 2 people were producing 5 to 7 children.
Yeah.
Where if 2, 3 say that they want to go do Khalistan, ja beta ja, ye kar. When your thing is less than replacement rate is 2.1. 2.1 bache means you will sustain the same level of population. It is well below replacement rate. It's 1.4 or 1.6 at the moment, which means every household is having approximately 1 or 2 children. You can't afford to produce those kids. And with a near 50-50 male to female ratio, beta to sabse dear hota hai. जब बेटा बोलेगा मैं खालिस्तान ये करूंगा, मम्मी एक झापड़ मारेगी, चित्तड़ मारेगी चप्पल से और बोलेगी चुप बैठ के नीट के लिए तैयार कर. ठीक है? So it is not going to happen that way. You see what is happening in Punjab right now is something very different. There isn't a Khalistan movement. There is an organized drug racket out there. It is organized crime, which uses rap music to glorify violence and gun culture exactly the way it is used by black gangs in America. So you have the cultural affinity for seeing all of this as natural. Sidhu Moosewala was a classic case of it. Um, Honey Singh and all his rape lyrics are again a classic case of
Yeah.
it. Diljit Dosanjh and his celebration of thuggery is another classic case of it.
Yeah.
You don't see it as thuggery, but it clearly is exactly just that. It's thuggery, it's
Yeah.
typical
Yeah.
village thuggery,
Mhm.
which masks, it puts a artistic touch to essentially criminals. Okay.
This is
Yeah,
he
it
did.
will different way in that you will possibly see cartelization and chronic social violence, but not terrorism. Though it can go in any particular direction, but it is not going to result in a full-fledged insurgency because the statistics don't support it. If you look at the West Bank and Gaza through the 60s and 70s under Israeli occupation, there was no terrorism happening out there. The terrorism started after the early 90s, when the Palestinian Authority decided to start growing population rates. Their population rates are something like 7, 8. Every two people have 7, 8 kids. Where no jobs, no nothing, you become a jihadist. So, like I said, it is not going to be the same. It is not going to be an insurgency. It is going to metastasize into a uh, chronic social violence problem.
Yeah.
And understand the difference between violence, insurgency, terrorism.
Yeah.
They're all very different.
Very. I've been saying this for 6 months. That this is the blacks. This is the PDD syndrome which is taking place. This is the 90s when hip hop, the R&B changed into hip hop and changed into rap.
Yeah,
This is that. People
it's
are not
exactly.
understanding.
We skipped the R&B and
Yeah, we skipped
hip
the
hop
R&B and
phase.
we went
We
straight to
went
the rap.
straight into rap, and I
And we
fucking
went
hate
to gangster rap. We
the
skipped.
moment a Punjabi song comes on and that ding a 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 ding kind of tune that goes on in the background. I'm like, shut that fucking thing off right
Yeah,
there, right now.
yeah, yeah. It's gangster rap, basically.
It is basically.
Yeah. Rahul Lakshman says, does Modi government have a plan to counter narratives?
We discussed this during
Yeah.
this thing.
So Dhruva says, thank you. He says, what are BJP's prospects in the coming three election polls? We've seen that. Or will Congi destabilize the central government if BJP loses? Will Modi last 5 years? I think the last question is most
We've
important.
already discussed the previous, but the last 5 years, personally, I feel he's going to call a midterm election in 2026 or 2027.
Delimitation.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people know that even the cabinet is a placeholder cabinet that's going to be changed in a year because they had to show continuity. Otherwise, it would have believed that there was panic. See, it's one thing changing your entire cabinet when you come back on a wave.
Yeah.
But when you don't have the wave, you can't change the cabinet. You have to show that things have
Stability.
continued or aapne humko it's not that we haven't learned, it's that we have to show that we haven't been shaken. अंदर हम कांप रहे होंगे पर बाहर दिखाने का नहीं है. So 1 year in his own time he'll change it. I think Modi is best when he's under pressure like this, and I think he's going to go whole hog on economics. I may be wrong, of course, I'm frequently wrong, but I believe he'll go whole hog on economics.
Avi says we talk about all things. Adi sir, why not NEET scam? Because it's not a scam. It's a
Okay, let's talk about NEET because first this is very important. Okay, what is this scam you people are talking about? Because it's not a scam.
it's not a scam.
Okay, out of 4,500 centers, only 8 were found to have suspicious activity. Now there are two cases. One is Godhra. Godhra mein jo hua tha, wo cheating hua tha, the intercepted phone call, which is you are meant to leave your paper blank and somebody would come and fill it up for you.
Fill it up for you.
One in Patna, I think it was different, which is where the paper leak happened. Now people are saying कि पहले तो बस 2 लोग और या 1 लोग कई साल में किसी ने भी full 700 out of 700 or whatever 720 750 I don't know score नहीं किया है. This time 67 people scored it. Why? Because the government rationalized the syllabus. It said that भाई तुम्हारा 12th का सिलेबस इधर तक है पर नीट का सिलेबस इधर है. So what it is doing is it's giving money to all these an ordinary person can't afford to go to these coaching institutions, spend lakhs every year and things like that. So equalize this exam to here. So obviously many more people now are able to score that. That is no just because
Scam.
8 people from the same training center in Jhajjar in Haryana got a full score, it does not mean they got the paper.
Yeah.
In fact, there is no proof there that they got the paper.
Only except Bihar.
Huh?
Except Bihar.
Except Bihar. Patna mein, we know because when those boys were caught, they burnt it.
Yep.
And that burnt, whatever remains of that burnt thing, at least the first part that could be read that hadn't been crushed up, like potato chips. Jab potato chips milta hai, kai sare crushed up hote hain, that's what happens with burnt paper. They were able to see ki the initial part of it was a paper. But there again, there is paper A, paper B. Now, I will also give you a solution at the end how to overcome this because you have digital infrastructure and that it's very easy to overcome technically. So it is not a scam. Now, what has happened is in many places, the paper came 10 minutes late, it came 30 minutes late. Now, NTA are chutias. They are lying. And that makes you think it is a scam. And Dharmendra Pradhan should have first waited for a full investigation before he opened his mouth. He shouldn't have shot it off based on what NTA told him. Because what happened was papers clearly leaked. So there was this compensation mechanism in those places where they will grant you grace marks. Then there are grace marks again for if you came, if you got the paper 10 minutes late or if you got the paper 30 minutes late.
Yeah.
But see, people don't like that because what happens is in those 30 minutes, the mental agony you have suffered, think mera 3 घंटा में से 30 मिनट निकल गया, is so bad it affects you. And that in that 30 minutes, he could have done that much more. He or she could have done that much more. So the NTA was trying to cover up its own tracks. Is the NTA lying? Yes. Emphatically it is. Chutiye. But the minister should not have relied on the NTA.
Yeah.
But there is no scam out here. Please understand. This is one of those situations where the government should have just come out and said, look, we got it wrong. There's nothing we can do about it. But what do we do the next time to prevent this from happening? Now,
I think they were under pressure and they responded badly. Yeah.
Now, what do you do to prevent this from happening the next time is very simple. हर एग्जाम सेंटर को एक हाई स्पीड प्रिंटर दे दो. ठीक है?
Central print, let them all come out at the same time and
now, you have your entire syllabus, have a bank every year of 15 to 20,000 questions, which based on every student's number, serial number, exam number, gets completely randomized and given to him or her. You also grade the questions in terms of difficulty. One will be worth 5, one will be worth 2. So everybody gets a mix and match of 5-point questions, grade 2 difficulty questions, just 1-point difficulty questions. I mean, they're all marked the same because it's a multiple choice thing. But you grade the difficulty level and you see to it that those algorithms, that way, paper leak hone ka chance hi nahi hai. Because if you were to learn all 20,000 answers, you have effectively learned the entire syllabus. Right? So that is one way of when you have your digital infrastructure, जहां हर जगह आपको 5G मिल रहा है, जहां हर जगह आपको इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है और एक प्रिंटर दे सकते हैं, which just requires 2 invigilators because you don't even have to worry about cheating क्योंकि फर्रा का फिर कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगा. सुपरविजन का भी कोई, because this guy is saying ये आंसर number 5 का आंसर क्या है, उसका number 5 is a totally different thing from your number 5.
Yep.
It sorts all your problems at one bloody shot. A digital bank, too large for you to memorize, it doesn't matter what you do, you will not be able to know all the answers unless you have studied the syllabus. And make 50% of it application based. To apply your mind to something, or maybe less, maybe 15-20%, which will determine the highest category.
That you can keep doing.
Now remember, there are only 1 lakh seats and there were 24 lakh aspirants. 23 lakhs were anyway not going to get it. Okay. And let's also be clear, except for one or two of the court cases which are genuine cases, the remaining 44 or 46 cases, I don't know what, are all coaching centers that have gone to appeal against it.
Yep.
Most in places that were not affected at all because it's affecting their business. क्योंकि आपने पहले उनका coaching center का business जो था वो था to bridge this gap. But ever since the government rationalized that syllabus, where it's a direct bridge between your 12th standard and NEET, फिर coaching center क्यों जाना? Now every बच्चा can attempt NEET.
Mm-hmm.
So please stop calling it a scam. It is not a scam. It is a scandal in that the
Mm-hmm.
NTA lied. With the best of intentions, they tried to fix certain things. They did it with the best of intentions, but clearly it ended up, they did it very stupidly. And you know what Talleyrand, the French foreign minister under Napoleon, used to say? It was worse than a crime, it was a blunder.
Mm.
They blundered along. Dharmendra Pradhan blundered along. He's a notorious blunderer anyway, so it doesn't matter. And that's it. There is no... how do you solve this situation? Because there is no way of solving the situation of NEET exams this year without affecting everybody. Say you have a redo of the exam. That is so unfair to the people who already got their scores and went through.
Yep. Time.
I would say that all the scores stand unless somebody wants to attempt a redo at the exam in about 2 months, in about a month's time or something like that. Attempt it, try a second shot for the same year.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's a good suggestion. Sorry. Yuvraj, thank you so much. He says, "Arey cute Motu, tu theek ho gaya. Welcome back." Oh my God, what the hell is that?
Oh, that's these reactions, no?
It doesn't happen in mine, but I guess I don't know what system you're using.
So it's something on Apple which allows you to
I
do
have
this.
an Apple. I don't know. I've been trying to do that. It doesn't happen. See,
You have to turn reactions on.
Okay. Agastya, he says, what I think. Whoa, what I think maybe the voter list was sabotaged.
No. But we know in some places they were. So, for example, Coimbatore, where Annamalai was contesting, they got in party workers a month late. They bust in a lot of party a month before the election. Now, see, it was the rolls, the voter rolls that had already been manipulated by that time.
Yeah.
So, booth management starts first of all with electoral roll management. उसके लिए वो नहीं थे, बाहर से आए, so they couldn't even tell कि कौन असली है कौन नकली है, कहाँ बस भेजना है कहाँ बस नहीं भेजना है, because they were not local. You can't learn everything about a place in 1 month. And Coimbatore is a very important big city. People don't realize this.
It's sectionized, very sectionalized.
And it's a very rich city. It's much richer than Madras.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things, and it was one of those places where the DMK and ADMK came together. So we know for a fact that voter rolls were cooked up in,
they wanted to defeat this guy.
They were screwed up deliberately in Coimbatore.
Yeah.
Maybe it happened in 1 or 2 places like that here and there, but otherwise no.
Soham, thank you. He says, AIM sir, Nehru Gandhi caste minority based social justiceisms made Indians so unstable, glutinous, who feel victimhood is fashionable. Is it why BJP, though is in power, likes to play victim?
No, I don't think it does. And I disagree with how... I disagree in your characterization of Nehru Gandhi social justiceisms.
I think it was my bapism.
From people. It wasn't giving anything to any people.
It was more my bapism than social justice.
Exactly. No, BJP has an inferiority complex. That's the BJP's problem.
That's the problem. You bet. Abhishek says, so Nancy Dadis in India visit the Dalai Lama. Should Xi Jinping Daddu be scared or be problematic for Bharat?
It'll be problematic for India. Remember, they've already come out and said that our neighbors are provoking us. They're talking about us, by the way.
Yeah.
And this is not something we've allowed before. See, Richard Gere coming to India and talking to the Dalai Lama is very different from a US congresswoman coming and addressing the Tibetan parliament.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very... Mayank, thank you. He says personal comment on Raja Bhaiya and Anupriya Patel and Vinod Shankar abusing Thakurs and Brahmins changed everything in Purvanchal. Everybody knows it. I'm not aware of this. I won't be able to comment.
Yeah, like I said, agar ye tha, then Brahmins everywhere should have been angry, na? Thakurs everywhere should have been angry. Nahi hua, na?
Yeah,
So
I'm not
why
aware
would
of
we?
this.
I'm not buying this, boss. I think these are post facto justifications. I don't think. Can you prove, for example, can you prove the causation? You can't.
Chelsea fan club RK, thank you so much. He says 400 par was a psyop created, was okayed, reset Uno strategy. Exit polls were brought in and paid for. Get that guy Gupta safety jized and check his connections and accounts.
No, boss. We discussed this. They all got their voting
That's
percentages
right,
right.
yeah. Pradeep Bhandari was the most accurate.
Accurate, exactly. And
Thought
Pradeep
provoking.
Bhandari got it the most wrong in seats, even though he got it most accurate in terms of voter percentage.
Yeah, I know. I spoke to him. He's like, यार ये
And
कैसे होता है?
but this is the thing. See, you can percentages. You simply can't extrapolate them seat to seat to seat. You at some point, yeah, people don't realize how mind-bogglingly difficult it is to extrapolate it constituency by constituency. So you have to make a call. You club together 10-15 constituencies and make a call कि ऐसे होने वाला है पूरे region में.
Yeah. थॉट प्रोवोकेटर जी, जब तक नड्डा जैसा खड्डा भाजपा में है, भविष्य अंधेरे में है. Agreed.
I'm not a fan of Nanda, but again,
Yeah.
let's not attribute blame to him if you can't prove that blame. It's very easy
Shubham,
to throw a stone at somebody. It's much tougher to sit and introspect.
that's what grown-ups do. Shubham Sarkarji, thank you so much. He says, hello Neela, Momo and Adi sir. How to protect vast critical infrastructure like railways when terrorists don't care about punishment even if the law comes 1st of July?
I think we've done a very good job in protecting our critical infrastructure. What have they realistically been able to attack? कुछ नहीं. एक जमाने में मुंबई ट्रेन ब्लास्ट हुआ था. लोग, I don't think people remember that anymore.
I was in it.
We do because we're old men, ना. ये बच्चे.
I was in it. I was in it. I was in the train
Are you
in front of
serious?
it. Yeah.
Hawk. Do you
Right
know what
in
hawk
front.
is? Do you know what
Huh?
hawk is? Do you know what
Yeah.
hawk is? इतना
The
ओडिया
Makapao.
से.
Yeah, Makapao Oria, this thing.
So,
Oh.
where have you seen the infrastructure attacks?
Mm.
There was that attack on the Bombay Power Grid by some Chinese. This thing. There was the attempt to compromise. They got into the personnel records of a reactor in Tamil Nadu, but that the personnel records were air gapped. It's still very significant, but they were air gapped from the actual operation of the reactor.
Mm.
So, kuch nahi hua. So, terrorists don't just attack infrastructure. States attack infrastructure, but you see, attacking infrastructure by a terrorist doesn't produce results. Killing people does, which is why terrorists only attack people.
Soham, once again, thank you, sir. Why doesn't the central government make cash cows Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad into union territories only, and then the other regions will improve?
Excuse me, how do you think these states will react, boss? How do you think Tamil Nadu will react when you say Chennai is a union territory? How do you think Telugus will react when you say Hyderabad is union? How do you think Kannadigas will react? Riots करवानी है तेरे को, बस सीधे सीधे बोल देना. Your question was, boss, how do we start pan India riots?
Pan India riots.
और तूने बहुत प्यार से बोला, तू बोलना चाहता है कि आप चूतिए की तरह लगते हो, पर तुमने बहुत प्यार से बोला आप एक रोजी गड्ढे की तरह लगते हो.
Yeah. Sambhaji Rao Khade Saab, thank you so much. With Sabka Vishwas, BJP is pushing away anti-Congress Hindu vote. What do you think? Saying Mera Abdul aisa nahi hai?
I disagree with this completely. What is he meant to do?
Does he
Prime
say
Minister,
stuff like this in the open? Do you want that? I mean, I don't think so. I don't want that. You'll have a
I
bloody
don't.
riot. You'll have riots in the street.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, but I disagree with this. Just because you don't want Muslims to get any benefits, they are also citizens of the country. You don't want this situation, boss. You're saying this right now because you're living nice and safe. Modi is investing in the long term of de-ghettoizing Sunnis, of de-radicalizing them slowly. Will they radicalize immediately? No, it is not an immediate project. It's a 30, 40-year project. Look how long UAE. Do you remember when the Denmark cartoons happened? Saudis and Emiratis also came out and burnt stuff, and they lodged diplomatic protests. But इस बार जब Sweden में Quran burning हुआ था, they didn't
Right.
even give a shit.
Gaza?
And the Yilans Posten thing was what, 2007, 8 or something like that.
7.
उसके पहले तो बवाल हो जाता. But 2008,
Gaza?
it was diplomatic protests and burning of Danish flags. Now it's not even that after 20 odd years. Approximately 20 years. This is a 40-year project. It is not, if you yield results immediately, it is not going to happen.
Then it's a sham and people are scared and not talking. That's all.
You want these people in jobs, you want these people in houses because they need to value something that doesn't get destroyed.
Yeah. Soham, thank you so much. I'm from
And
Sirsa here.
just this question online, don't remove it. But
Yeah.
there will always be the outlier like Zubair who doesn't mind sacrificing his mom, his dad, his kids, everything. He'll probably wear a suicide vest one day and explode it. But that is the outlier. There's nothing you can do about that.
Soham, thank you so much. He says, I'm from Sirsa here. BJP workers knew they were going to lose. A huge factor was the Kisan Andolan, and the government employees were not also not happy about because politics were not in their favor. Very hard to win local elections.
Well, the BJP cutter screwed up. What are you meant to do? करोगे क्या तुम? बताओ मेरे को.
Absolutely. Sominil Nayak ji.
Because look, Khattar is there not because he's capable or anything. He's there because he's Modi's old roommate. When three of them, I forget who the third guy was, all three of them used to share a room. Khattar was the one who was responsible for making chapatis. इतना पुराना friendship है. Khattar was never a very competent chief minister.
Wow. I didn't know that. Abhijit sir, Aadi sir, my huge respect to you. Thank you. After Trump, what do you think about the Russia-Ukraine war? Will it intensify EU to get more distance from the US?
First, you're assuming Trump is coming. I'm telling you, Trump is either going to be killed or thrown in jail.
Wow.
Or going to be incapacitated in a blast or something like that. They will not let him come back. Last election was completely rigged. This election will also most probably be thoroughly rigged. Much more so because they know Trump is a threat and they will go out of their way to rig the elections.
The deep state.
And
MPCs.
And Trump has already said very softly that he let Ukraine go.
Yeah, he said. Yeah.
He has. Biden, it will remain the same under this, and they'll basically wait for Ukraine to slowly collapse.
Dr. MPC, thank you. Isn't the skill census instead of caste and skill development going to be done in Andhra? A need for the rest of the nation for creating jobs.
Do you know how long I've been advocating a skill census? We actually applied, me and Angad, Zone 5 Aviation, on Twitter. The two of us applied for Air Force funding to do 3 censuses. One was a skill census. The second was a trades census. So not just skills, but also trades. And the third was an industrial census of India. The trade census, we kind of merged with the skill census in a way. But there were these two things that we wanted to do. And the Air Force like, nahi yaar, what is the point of this? Yaar, how do you do acquisition without knowing what your industrial capacity is and what your skill capacity is? We applied for that funding in 2015, pata hai, way before Chandrababu Naidu put that idea out. We've been saying this for the longest period of time. But then they're like, yaar, we don't need that for acquisition. Okay, congratulations to you.
Jehangir Saab, thank you. He says there are no jokers. Treat them all as gories. How many apologies will be accepted via tolerance for external players and local agents? Please head their mass com with $1 billion rupee budget.
$1 billion is nothing in 1 billion rupees कितना होता है? करोड़ में बताओ.
10 crore?
हाँ, ये कोई बजट होता है?
Hardly anything.
Huh.
Shubham ji, once again, some points. Thank you. Some points. No popular leader from core BJP or poor candidate choice. People of educated South look for at BJP as outsiders. I won't agree to that
I don't
entirely.
agree.
I stay with the
Annamalai is
South.
changing that. Annamalai
No,
is
I stay
changing
with
that.
the South. Yeah, I know it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like that. North Bengal people voted for BJP in the fear of the Muslim population, so BJP took West Bengal for granted. Okay. Thunderji, thank you. Sir, will Modi make India the third largest economy according to his guarantee?
यार मेरे को कैसे पता?
I think we will. There is no economy नहीं रुकती.
I think he's going to focus a lot more in the economy this time. And that is what he does. When he's under severe pressure, he focuses on the economy and on industrial growth. Not just economy. You can have jobless growth. He's going to focus on jobs
Jobs.
and industrial growth.
Yeah. Yuvraj, thank you so much. I kya tul AM's elephant wali story. Okay. That's a beautiful poem, by the way. Thank you so much for that. I honestly didn't hear of it. So thank you. Sohamji, thank you. Lok Sabha 2024 was clearly an election between RSS and WEF.
Okay.
Viralji, thank you so much. Do you think that capitalism will go for a toss in the next term and we are looking for hard socialism?
No, quite the contrary.
I think it's going to be completely the opposite.
Exactly.
Sachinji, thank you so much. I guess Biden or Trump, I think he's answered that. Sri Lataji, thank you. Adiji, will there be a retaliation on Pak immediately or will they let them stew in for a while?
थोड़ा स्टू करके कुछ करेंगे, पर करने तो वाले हैं. मोदी
But
wouldn't have gone on the 2-day tour of Jammu and Kashmir बस ऐसे ही. कुछ तो प्लान हो रहा है.
I think the hit is going to be on China, not Pakistan, because the Chinese are pushing this. So
Let's see.
sorry if there's a lot of noise. It's pouring out here. So
No, कुछ नहीं. I can't hear
okay,
anything.
Ankit Podarji, thank you. Bhaiya, being a car enthusiast, can you do a podcast on automobile industry where it stands now from historic and current perspective? Can you recommend it? Watching or reading? Do share.
Yeah, I actually wanted to do this, but there's a fantastic. We want to do car reviews and go into the history of automobiles, but then we found this guy Gagan Chaudhary who does very, very honest reviews. He doesn't do it in English; he only does it in Hindi, and he's I think he's my favorite car reviewer because he doesn't do glitz, glam, and things like that. और जो Indian household को पता होना चाहिए गाड़ी के बारे में, वो सब चीजों के बारे में बात करता है. He doesn't get taken in by all these funding rackets and free junkets abroad rackets and shit like that. So he's very, very good. He's very honest. I really like him. And the second guy who talks about the history and theory, and boss, this guy is my guru. I will literally touch his feet. His YouTube channel is called Biturbo Media.
Okay.
Go check it out. Biturbo Media is so he is like Ashrish, who does India in Pixels, who picks up the weirdest of things, and he pictorially, Ashrish is a genius. What Ashrish is to data, this Biturbo Media guy, I don't know what his name is. Biturbo Media is to cars and automobiles. Everything from how the ambassador destroyed the Indian car industry and shit like that. Topics you won't even think about. Are Thar drivers more dangerous? Why are Creta drivers such assholes? Etc. etc. Just go check out his thing. It is fantastic. This guy knows his shit. He does his research. He is incredible. I have learned so much from him. And I will trust him blindly.
I didn't know this. I'll check it out. Ravi Prakashji, few words for India after Rahul Baba becomes PM. Yeah, we had such a lovely conversation. Why are you doing this, Ravi?
I'll tell you what, if Rahul becomes PM, ये मेरे गांड में जलाओ.
I think your nasty was enough. Sachin, thank you so much. Increasing theme, Elon has joined the Gehra Rajya. He's an idiot, nothing else.
EVMs. First of all, please go read up about American EVMs. 3 different companies make them. They are all the most common is in fact not a touch screen at all. You have to fill in a paper where you mark that hole in black and then it scans it. Heavily, it is an optical system which is heavily failure prone.
Yeah.
or misreading prone. Okay? And they cost a heck of a lot of money. The second thing is the actual machine, which is again, you want to put all these graphics. You can know about the candidate, etc., which means the amount of information that can be fed into it, and therefore the avenues of hacking it are much greater.
Much greater.
Okay. I can show you how every one of their machines is so expensive and so technologically advanced. The more technologically advanced you are, the more you can be hacked. The less technologically advanced you are, the less you get hacked. Kind of. Which is why this whole talk about Israel depending too much on technology for the wall and not
AI.
depending on human beings became an issue on the 7th of October.
Hmm.
To this day, the only radars that can track stealth aircraft are World War II late model and early Cold War model radars. Do you know that?
PA 1937s.
I'm not asking you. I know you know that, but I'm asking the audience. Do
You
you
know, we
know
are
that?
working on them. The DRDO is actually working on those guys right now.
It is actually radars from the late 40s
Yeah.
and 50s that are able to detect stealth aircraft. And modern radars are not able to detect them
Yeah.
because that stealth does not work. It is such dumb technology. You can't fool it. You
Yeah.
know, you're trying to fool. This is like the emperor's new clothes. जब एम्परर पे जब सम्राट पे वो नंगा चल रहा था, सब इसने सबको फूल करके रखा था कि ये एक्चुअल में बहुत सुंदर कपड़ा है और सब जानते जो बुद्धू हैं वही नहीं देख सकते. फिर बच्चा ने बोला अरे ये तो नंगा है. Then suddenly everybody realized he's literally those older radars are literally like those little boys. Your EVM is exactly like that. This is so tamper proof. It is an India proof machine that is so bloody basic. You can't even program the candidate's name and this thing. You have to put paper slips for each this thing.
It's a calculator.
So unless the way of hacking it is you change the paper slips. But even there, what happens is the VVPAT will very clearly tell you. Now, mere idhar VVPAT was printed, you could see it, and it goes directly into the counting box. It wasn't given to me. But usme, you could clearly tell that it was BJP. So even that had not been changed.
Yeah.
I voted for Tamilisai Soundarajan. She's what? Mylapur, well, my South Madras constituency. South Chennai, it's called these days. I don't call it Chennai. Chennai sounds like such a servanty word. It's South Madras. Madras is so nice. It's so posh and nice.
Madras.
Good old British name. But now he's talking about it in an American context. This is why, remember, this is, what's his name? Manu Joseph's brilliant point. The right is local, the left is global. In India, abortion isn't an issue. In America, abortion is a huge issue for the right. In India, EVMs are great for the right. In America, they're terrible for the right. So just because he's taking a stance contrary to you does not, in fact, that position there is against the American deep state. Next.
Here we are. Hera Fairy. Abhijit loves Nancy from the bottom of his lungs. Thank you so much for that. DTF. Thank you. Why not RSS take up Manipur cause to help reduce Soros propaganda and CIA increased influence in the northeastern states? How should India respond?
Yeah, what are they going to do in Manipur? You tell me this. Are they going to go fight?
It's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
It's not. I did a beautiful podcast with Rami Desai.
They don't do violence, by the way. Yeah, exactly. Watch that. That was a brilliant podcast. Wo jaake dekho. You
Beautiful.
please first watch that podcast with Rami Desai and understand the complexities of the issue out there.
It's not that
This
easy.
is not something, the RSS isn't like Jesus where he suddenly comes and the war stops.
Yeah. Even the army you send in, it won't happen.
You know the Buddhist Mahabharata, usme kya hota hai? It doesn't end with Rama killing Ravana and bringing back Sita. It comes with the Buddha coming down and intervening. He stops the war and he gives Sita back to Rama.
Yeah. So we're at 1 hour 30. Let me just acknowledge the super chats. I think this will go on all night otherwise. Sohamji, thank you. Chalo, theek hai. Kheech lete fatafat. UAPO of Arundhati Roy, a warning from RSS to the deep state, Bhadralok or the state of Bengal. President rule in Bengal caused problems at the chicken's neck. Tell me about the UAPA. We've spoken about Bengal.
I don't even understand what this question is.
UAPA of Arundhati Roy. How do you see that going forward?
Yeah, I think it's dumb. This woman was a washout. I don't know why you've resurrected her, really.
Are you
At the
starting
same, and
something
you know,
somewhere?
initially we thought that they would actually have proof that she discussed that stand and actively translated it into action on the ground. But from the statements that are coming out from the prosecutor general, they don't have that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Aviralji, why Russia and Iran both withdraw support from Armenia?
it is
Long
entirely
question.
Armenia's fault.
Yeah.
And it's because of this chutia of a president that they have, Pashnian.
Soros
Uh,
guy.
complete bloody Soros guy.
Yeah.
He riled up Russia for no reason at all, and alienated them. Then he tried to suck Erdogan's dick.
Mhm.
And in many ways, he allowed the army, Azeris to come and take this entire thing over. Now,
Nagorno-Karabakh.
you are a landlocked state. You can't get aid from anyone. What the hell are you going to do? Let's call it Artsakh, which is the right word because it's
Yeah.
Armenian.
Mm.
It's called Artsakh. The enclave is called
Artsakh.
Artsakh, and in Azeri, it's called Nagorno-Karabakh. This Pashnian is your classic piece of shit who irritated and alienated everyone. That does not excuse Russia, because Russia first prevented Armenia from annexing Artsakh, saying, no, no, don't do that. Even though they annexed South Ossetia and Ingushetia and all of that from Georgia, they annexed eastern Ukraine. Parts, Lugansk and Donetsk were annexed to
Donetsk.
Russia. But they told Armenia, no, 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 don't do that.
Don't do that.
Then when time came to discharge their CSTO obligations to protecting Armenia,
They
they said,
didn't.
you never annexed it, so how can we protect you? It isn't your territory, so you're technically not under attack.
Never sad.
What happened?
Never
So इसमें
sad.
सब चुकी हैं.
Yeah. Srinivasji, I think we have answered your question on Bengal, Punjab, and others. Sahil Mahajanji, thank you. I'm one of the many voters that didn't vote thinking BJP is going to win anyhow. Many voters wanted to teach the local MPs a lesson. Many BJP MPs are really corrupt.
Yes, they are. Many BJP MPs are very corrupt, but some of them are very, very good, and they got replaced by complete nikamma chutias. So, for example, Poonam Mahajan, who's an extremely visible face, who's done a lot of really good work out there, was replaced by Ujjwal Nikam. What is now? Poonam has been working on the ground there for donkey's years, spending her own money in most cases. Ujjwal Nikam, South Bombay ka, suddenly comes out there. His one claim to fame is I hanged Kasab.
You can't. It won't win you an election.
Kasab ko hang kar diya, to main kya karu?
It won't win you an election. I said this at that time as well. I think
I
Sanjay
knew
ji
this
has
was. I still thought they were going to win, but with a much narrower margin. They lost very.
They could have backed him. They could have backed him hard. They didn't even back him. They just left him be.
Because they thought Modi bolo sab kuch chal jayega.
Yeah. Naman ji, thank you. BNSNL privatization, courtesy Maharaj JMS.
And you know, Modi bolne se chal bhi jata.
ढंग से तो बोल रहे हैं.
कोई national issue होता.
Yeah.
But in an aggregation of state elections, Modi nahi chalne wala hai.
I think that's a very good point that you brought out. BSNL privatization. You think?
I hope.
Interesting. Herald of Chaos, thank you. BJP is so frightened from the global left. Why? They can actually do much damage, shameful cowardice.
It's not fear, it's this need for validation. Inferiority complex. I think that needs to go. Is it shameful? Yes. Is it cowardice? No. I don't think the BJP are cowards. I think the BJP are needy. They're like the wife that keeps coming in. Jab aap ghar aate ho, I don't know. I've never had a wife.
I think these monkeys are going to wait for their elections. ठीक है, ये छोड़ेंगे तो ये भी नहीं, ये भी हरामी है साले. Joshi ji, thank you. Broader spectrum, may India ka future in the next 5 years. No problem. All good.
More economic reforms. I think that's it.
Yeah. GBG, thank you. Greetings. Should we start promoting social justice reservations for blacks in the US and UK and Uno reverse?
Why?
Play with their elections.
All of that will turn them against us. You know this.
Against us.
Because all those social justice warriors are completely captured by Muslim Brotherhood Islamists and Pakistanis out there. You need to be actively combating them. Just because you hate them, you need them.
Vijay ji, astrologer PVR Narasimha Rao was more accurate about the election results. He said should be 2014 2019 results. You can also check his video. Thank you for that.
How is that accurate? It was neither. It was more 2004, no?
Yeah. For
Not
Pranavji, thank you.
2004, 1999, but anyway. Huh?
Pranavji, thank you. Will China attack Taiwan? The situation was 1999. The results were 2004.
But see, 2004 we lost.
Yeah.
We didn't lose this time at all. It was a
Thank God.
very listen. We still got 2.5 times the number of votes that little shit got.
Yeah.
Seats.
Will China attack Taiwan in 2024?
Look, Xi Jinping is mad enough to do it, but
Will he
being
survive
mad
after
enough
that?
to do it and actually doing it is a step. I never thought Putin was mad enough to attack Ukraine, but he did.
Really? I knew from the
I
day one in
knew
December.
I knew he was going to attack Ukraine. I
Yeah.
actually said that in a podcast the moment Biden got elected. But I also said at that point on the 24th of February, it is not going to happen because fundamentally the way Russian philosophy and doctrine, war philosophy and doctrine work, there would have had to be an issue of a casus belli. There would have had to be a provocation. You don't just go in. Remember,
was.
even the operation against Georgia, there was a casus belli where the Georgians, the Russians provoked, but the Georgians initiated, and this is what the EU report, which hates Russia, even found in that particular case.
Yeah.
Right?
But they did, no? Ukrainians provoked.
They did not provoke.
They started assembling and they started shelling and all that stuff, no?
No. But see, that was Lugansk and Donetsk, where it had been continuing for the last 8 years.
10 years.
You have to make a case for an accretion of events, which is the case that Iraq made when it attacked Iran in 1980.
Iran.
Iraq made the case that it was an accretion of events of terror, of Shia terror and things like that funded by Iran, which had finally come to fruition.
True. Joshi ji, once again, broad spectrum India's. Oh, sorry, I think we've taken this up. Shobit Saab, many right wing have become sympathetic to Hindus, while US right wing is still racist towards Hindus. Explain this.
Some, not all. All the deep thinkers are very sympathetic to Hindus. The altu faltu outliers are not.
Joes, thank you so much. And I think this is one of the earliest comments. I saved this for the last, and I want you to kind of give me your thoughts on this. When are we going to move on? It's clear that the BJP got the majority seats. Now it's up to the BJP and RSS to sort this out and increase their clout.
I agree.
I think it's one of the sanest comments of the day. Santosh
and I think they're look, they are going to move on. I think they've already moved on.
They've already moved on.
Yeah, I think we have not moved on. They have moved on. They're already focusing on the 100-day plan, which has to be much modified because they expected a much larger majority. But now it has to be modified to suit the current thing. So there'll be different prioritizations and things like that. The plans will have to be worked out to implement all of them, reworked out to implement all of them, the sequences and things like that. But they have moved on. I think they are now focusing on the introspection because Maharashtra is too big a state to lose. They will now be introspecting on that because remember, it's very important to remember that Shiv Sena Shinde Sena actually had a higher strike rate and a higher vote percentage than Thackeray Sena.
Yeah.
But they only contested 15 seats. So even the strike rate was higher.
It wasn't good enough for them to pull it through. But
yeah.
Mr. Abhijit Saab, or shall I say Miss Pagalika Behosh, I must say, thank you. Okay, chalo, theek hai. Thank you so much. You have spent this time. It's been a long podcast, but I think you've been gracious enough to explain a lot of things which are not being spoken about in multiple places, and I'm glad we've done that. I hope this reaches many more people. And see you the next time, sir. Thank you so much. Namaskar, and keep fighting.
Jai Ramji ki, and have a great day or night, whatever.